Good morning, folks. Breaking news out of South Africa, where the civil rights organization AfriForum, their chief executive officer, Kallie Kriel, just announced that they have information that the government is paying private journalists to slander and attack AfriForum and the Solidarity Movement. Let's listen to what Kallie Kriel had to say.
AfriForum has received reliable information from a prominent former journalist that at least 2 South African journalists are being paid by the State Security Agency as well as the Department of International Relations to discredit AfriForum and the Solidarity Movement. Therefore, AfriForum has now officially applied in terms of the Access to Information Act to the Department of International Relations as well as the State Security Agency to provide us with the names of those academics, journalists and commentators that are being paid by them. These allegations are in line with AfriForum's experience since February this year, when an orchestrated campaign started to try and discredit AfriForum with lies. Numerous media houses has now already had to apologize to AfriForum for publishing these lies about us.
So a well-known former journalist told them that there are 2 prominent South African journalists currently being paid by the State Security Agency and the Department of International Relations to discredit AfriForum and Solidarity. This comes as no surprise to me. We saw the aggressive campaign to term their actions, which are guaranteed under South Africa's Constitution. Different sections guarantee freedom of association, freedom of travel, freedom of speech. These are things guaranteed under South Africa's Constitution. And the things that AfriForum and Solidarity are doing, traveling around, trying to inform people about the situation in South Africa, are perfectly legitimate, perfectly legal. Yet they've been painted by evil, demonic, now apparently, it appears, paid operatives of the State Security Service and DIRCO, the Foreign Ministry. But I don't know why DIRCO needs to hire journalists to spread its manure. Ronald Lamola does a fine job of that all by himself, fraudulently claiming that Donald Trump is a white supremacist. Yeah, and with his help from Ibrahim Rasool, who says he's not only a white supremacist, but the leader of a global white supremacist movement. Utter poppycock. So, under the Promotion of Access to Information Act, they have formally submitted a request to government institutions to get information about which journalists, any academics, and commentators are being paid by them to influence public opinion in line with the state's directives. It is interesting that recently a well-known South African journalist, who I've never claimed as being paid by the state or, a shill for the ANC, felt the need to defend herself about being called a shill or an operative of the ANC. And now 2 prominent South African journalists, according to AfriForum, are on the government intelligence services payroll. That doesn't shock me. Of course, we saw similar things during the apartheid era. As I've said many, many times, folks, the African National Congress and the National Party, oftentimes 2 sides of the same coin. Both rely on state-owned enterprises, both rely on patronage, both rely on secrecy, both rely on repression of freedom of speech, both rely on those things. Their favored groups of people are different, but they both achieve the same things, isolating parts of society. When South Africans just want to live in peace and harmony together, this is what's going on. So, breaking news from AfriForum tonight. Now, the first comment that's going to be made about this, I'll tell you this, I already predict this, to put my senior von Rensburg hat on. I'll predict the first comment is coming, well, who are these so-called former journalists? Who are these so-called former journalists? Tell us who they are. Really? So they can wind up dead like Marius van der Merwe? Witness D, so they can be assassinated like Babito Deokaran? I don't think so. And it's the lifespan of people who tell the truth in South Africa to the public, revealing the criminality or the illicit behavior of businessmen, the government, wind up dead. Very short lifespan. So I don't think we're going to know who these folks are, and it really isn't germane. It's pretty obvious that this has been going on. It's the only genuine explanation for why the press is so friendly to the African National Congress. Now, I'm going to hear that press, legacy press, say, that's not true. We do exposés in the ANC all the time. Yes, you reveal low-level operatives' corruption, and occasionally the people that are not in favor of the ruling class at the time. But beyond that, you don't hold the government accountable. Where are the exposés in South Africa's Media 24 network of newspapers and publications? Where are the exposés in the Independent Line owned by Iqbal Survey? Where are the exposés in the Times Live, the Sunday Times, and the Daily Maverick? Where are the exposés talking about the state of South Africa's infrastructure and how it got to where it's at? Where are the exposés talking about the buying of votes at the ANC's Congresses to become president. Where are these stories at? They just don't exist. Why don't they exist? Because the media gives them a free pass. No, they're much more interested in telling a tale that they perpetuate about white genocide and blaming conservatives who they claim are the ones raising the issue. There is a serious problem in South Africa with its journalism. Journalism has been dead for a long time in South Africa. Very few genuine journalists in South Africa, honestly. Kallie Kriel says that Solidarity and AfriForum have information, sources that indicate that the state security services and the Foreign Relations Department are paying at least 2 journalists to attack Solidarity and AfriForum. I have very little difficulty believing this to be true. What about you, South Africa? What do you think? Cheers.